I will now turn it over to Councilman Dean Michael, Chair of the Zoning Revision Committee.
So I handed out the last changes that we had over a month ago, which was 32, 71, and 66. Was there anything else that we needed to fix in there?
I have one, the July 20th revision. I just caught it.
What's that? On which section are you looking at?
Ray Oberly Fiddler's Bridge. Tree, it's the last, page 18 it's shown here, revised 720. It says a living wooding plant with an erect perennial trunk which is 3 inches diameter or more in a DBH diameter at breast height, which is the diameter at a tree measured at a point 4.5 feet above the ground. You find what I'm talking about? That's it. There's nothing else to that. That's all. I read the whole thing.
Right.
I thought we were doing 5 inches. I don't know where the 3 came from. And then the other thing is, why bring in this whole diameter at breast height and all that kind of stuff? Why don't you say, or more in diameter measured at a point, and delete all that other stuff because it has no benefit. It doesn't say anything other than confuse people.
Well, this is what the DEC uses, so, I mean, so if we want to change it from 3 to 5, that's
I mean,
whatever.
I thought we were talking 5, but
mean,
I mean,
see-
that other stuff,
Breast height, which is basically 4.5 feet. We could just say 4.5 feet from the ground.
Yeah.
But then we sit there and we argue which ground, you know, like if it's on a hill, is it on the shortest hill or it's on the, you know, we start getting into all this. So, I mean, we can make it complicated, we can make it simple. I don't
but
care.
you know, if you have a short person versus a tall person,
Well, yeah.
breast height gets quite different. That's all I meant. Just take that. Even though DEC uses it, the 4.5 feet is the more important measurement as far as I'm
That's
concerned.
fine, that's why I said, I don't really care if you
Yeah.
want to cut it all out and make it,
And just, you know, go right to where
5
it says
inches
measured
at
at 5.
4.5
Yeah.
feet, that's, you know.
Yeah, that's all I meant, just simplifies it. Otherwise Jeff can go crazy trying to figure out what it says. Thank you.
So what does everybody else feel?
Oh, sorry.
It's fine.
I mean, the part about eliminating DBH is fine with me.
With the 3 to 5?
I wouldn't even know. That, I guess it's okay with me.
Okay.
What do you, which one is this? Which section is
This is from last time, so this was the notes, changing this to say the tree is at 5 inches or more in diameter.
Dean, on 250-71, that was one of the new ones, right? That came up,
Well, that was corrected because of,
the excavation issue.
right.
Right, you want it, but you need to update it. You picked up the old date at the bottom. You want to change it to 8/3/22 or whatever the date was when we had.
It was 7:20, was our last meeting.
Okay, fine. Well, no, we had a
No, we
meeting
met on August 3rd.
August 3rd.
August 3rd.
Yeah,
So it
August
would have been August 3rd.
Yeah, so you want to change the revision date, just so we don't get confused later, because it still has the old revision date.
Oh, 2/20,
Yeah.
21,
Yeah,
or 20.
yeah.
See, we're already getting confused.
Yeah, see, we're confused already.
Okay. So, moving on, we were at kennels, right?
I have that we did kennel, but that's fine, we can,
Okay.
So what did we end up with? To have
I had no changes to it.
no changes?
More domesticated animals.
That email something to Dean about what we've done.
I thought we made a couple of changes. Okay.
I'm sorry, Jeff, what were you saying?
I had come up with a phrasing that I think emailed to you about kennel, the commercial keeping of 4 or more dogs or cats for the purposes of boarding, breeding, training, grooming, or sale.
Yeah, I don't recall. I mean, it's been a while, so I'll have to go back and look at that.
Could you read that again?
So come up to the mic and read that
A
so
little bit
everybody
more
can hear it.
slowly, maybe?
Jeff Newman, Municipal Code Enforcement Inspector. For kennel, where we left off was the commercial keeping of 4 or more dogs or cats for the purposes of boarding, breeding, training, grooming, or sale.
So it's dogs or cats?
Maybe it should be and or.
Well, yeah, it's-
Are you allowing
Yeah.
4 animals or
4 of
2
each.
animals of one kind,
Mhm.
2 of another kind? That's the
maybe it should be
Right.
and or.
Yeah, and or would allow for double the number of animals, because then you could have 4 of each. Correct, correct. Which,
So then you would have 8 would be the
right.
maximum. Was that the intention?
So here we're back into, are the definitions the code or the definitions the definitions? So if there's a code for kennel that restricts the number, that's where that should be, right? And the definition should simply refer to the species that we're talking about. So the definition of
okay.
kennel will be simply the commercial keeping of dogs and/or cats for the purposes of boarding, blah, blah, blah. It should not relate to the number then, because that should be covered in the chapter of zoning, right? Back to making the definition simple.
Gonna see.
250 dash,
So the commercial keeping of dogs and cats,
well, 4 or more, he said.
No, to
Same.
eliminate the 4 or
We would
more
eliminate
and make
4
sure
or
that
more.
that
Oh,
gets put
eliminate the
into
number.
the chapter in zoning,
Oh, not even have the number at all?
right? Because really it doesn't belong in the definition,
That's right.
it belongs in the code.
So that's food,
250-59 has a maximum of 12 over 6 months of age.
Right.
But it does it give a minimum on there, what it counts on that section?
Not in the existing one.
No? Okay.
Maybe in the new one, I don't have to go back and look at
That's right.
250-59. It says here, a maximum of 12 over 6 months of age, 12 dogs. It doesn't say cats, it's just
Yeah.
dogs.
and you can have 2 additional dogs for every 1 acre over 10 after that.
Is that what it is now?
Yep.
I mean, the new one, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, should we mention cats in the definition if cats is not included in the section?
If kennels is intended to only apply to dogs, then no.
Then I would say you should remove cats.
Then does that mean that there's no, a cat kennel would not be allowed?
Except if we put cats in the definition, then
It
cats
implies.
it needs to be mentioned in the actual section.
Right, right. So, but if the intent is that kennels are only for dogs, then it would be removed from the definition.
Which means you could have like 10,000 cats.
Crazy cat lady.
Right, or no
Yeah,
cats.
exactly.
Well, you could still have it for personal use. It's just only talk about the commercial keeping.
That's
Commercial,
true.
that's
Yeah,
correct,
that's true.
right.
You're right.
Right. So the question is, is the town not want to have a commercial use as a kennel for cats?
Okay, the new version of kennels is the same as the old one, so it didn't change. So it doesn't say anything at all about cats, just mentions dogs.
Well, this one's highlighted in blue, it included cats.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
added domesticated animals, and then in parentheses, it added and cats. Commercial keeping, yeah. So it should be the commercial keeping of domesticated animals, not putting 4 or more. Do we want the parentheses, dogs and cats, is the question.
Well, if we're gonna limit it to dogs, we could just say dogs. 4 or more domesticated dogs, more than 6 months of age or something. And not even, don't need animals, don't need cats, if that's the idea.
Yeah.
Just stick to dogs.
A lot of people have, I mean, I know a few kennels, you know, in a couple towns, and I don't know if any of them take care of
I don't
cats.
think kennels normally don't deal with cats,
I
do
mean,
they?
I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
but
cats usually just take care of themselves. You have
That's
a
it.
neighbor come over and put some water out and
Water and
and you're
food.
good.
But the kennels still watch cats too. I mean, they can
Yeah.
watch any animal. Again, this
Cats are
is,
the most
Oh, yeah, I
superior
suppose that's true for
out of the domesticated animals, aren't they, Ray? No?
4 or more. Well, then but if that's the case, if you want to include cats, then we should
We just,
go back to 59 and say a maximum, rather than saying a maximum of 12 dogs, say a maximum of 12
and
domesticated animals,
yeah.
Mhm.
right, which is what we said here. Pick up the language and repeat it in the actual section.
And I mean, we can put in parentheses also dogs and cats, just like we do in the definition.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you could do the same thing.
Yeah.
A maximum of 12 domesticated animals, parentheses, dogs and/or cats, over 6 months of age. Is that what you have in mind?
Yeah.
So if you have 10 cats, you can only have 2 dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
But then there's this other issue about it.
commercially.
Yeah.
What about the additional dogs issue? You'd have to, in the second line, you'd have,
Acreage to,
yeah, you'd have to say,
2 additional domesticated animals.
yeah. Change dogs in both of those places.
Solving all the world's problems. Uh, Moving to lake? Yes. No, it says dogs and cat,
Dogs and/or?
and/or.
If it's and the maximum is 12 dogs and cats, it could be read as a total of 24 animals.
Not,
If it's-
but what, if it says a maximum of 12 domesticated animals?
And then parentheses, it just says dogs and cats, as if those are what domesticated animals are.
Great, okay.
Yeah.
I don't have that version, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Lake?
We were going to go back to light industry,
Okay.
because we didn't land on something, but we alluded to a simple one that I think works, which was the one that you had
I
found
didn't know that
online,
was
Mike.
going back though, because we were just starting.
Oh, sorry, it came up under industry.
Oh, okay.
And we chose not to define industry, but to define it as light industry.
Aha,
Because we don't have, our industrial district is a light industry.
yes, correct.
So I can wait till we come up to it under light and we just eliminate industry.
Let's do it while we're sitting here, 'cause-
That's where we're supposed to start anyways.
Light industrial, this is a little bit shorter than what you would find online, Mike, but manufacturing practices and spaces that don't use capital-intensive machinery. That's, I forget the site that that's taken from, but it allows for a variety of different types of industry, but by eliminating capital-intensive machinery, then it's not heavy manufacturing.
Yeah, but then how do you define capital intensive?
I actually had to answer that today.
prepared for that.
Capital-intensive industry is one whose asset costs greatly outpace its labor costs, such as oil refineries, automobile manufacturing, steel production, large-scale telecommunications, et cetera. So if if the cost of your equipment and machinery is much greater than your cost of labor, it would be considered capital-intensive machinery. So you think about a manufacturing machine that does a whole bunch of product or a whole bunch of work run by one person would be capital-intensive.
So even if a farmer, let's say, automated their operation,
Yes,
where they're using just machines,
right.
it's like some farmers have switched to soybean so that they don't have to have the labor costs.
Right, yeah.
And they just have a machine that.
Right, so if, since we're
everything,
speaking just about
that could
industry.
say labor intensive by that
Yeah, we
definition.
may want to add non-agricultural, so,
Machine would be over $1 million. That big soybeans.
yeah. So it could be manufacturing practices in spaces that don't use capital-intensive machinery not related to agriculture, or not including agricultural practices. Yeah. All right, maybe we'll come back to it. So, but what was it, what,
Send us that?
yeah, one of the reasons that we had decided to take some time with it was because the two districts to which this applies are property-specific districts. So when zoning was created, each of these districts, each of these properties were already in some form of light industry. And so we talked about looking at the practices that those companies do currently, so that the definition that we create doesn't create an issue for something that it doesn't create a non-conforming use, right? But today I was looking through the schedule of use regulations, and in the office light industry district, there are a whole bunch of other things besides light industry that are allowed. So the definition of light industry does not have to, it's not going to define that district, it's just going to define light industry. Because that district can also do things like commercial communications, contractor's yard, crematorium, heavy equipment sales, excavation and mining, machine shop or major vehicle repair, medical, dental, or health clinic. All of those things were allowed in that district already. So the definition of light industry can be specific to light industry. It doesn't have to apply just to that district. So, yeah, I can email that around, we can talk about it.
Ray Oberly again. The definition of capital intensive as a problem because, for example, if you have an NCI tool, numerical controlled tool, you're talking $250,000 to $2 million for those things. And hopefully you only have one operator or half an operator on it. Once you set it up and start it running, it self pushes through, does its stuff, and dumps it out at the other end. So that would be prohibited. Now, they come down in smaller sizes, but still, you know, you're at the breaking point, you know, because if you take a person working there, if you use his dollar value, we'll say it's with all overhead and everything else, it's going to probably be $75,000 to $100,000, and I'm just quick guess. Those pieces of equipment are more than that, and they can be small, you know, small ones to just make things that they need for their simple operation. So, you know, that definition of using a person's wages versus the cost of the piece of equipment as a definition of capital intensive, I think is not going to work very well.
I mean, everything has become more automated. I mean, even like ordering at one of the fast food restaurants have now kiosks to take the order. So, you know, they're becoming less labor-intensive positions out there just because of technology and everything that's available. So I find it a little problematic as well to say capital-intensive. So, you know, I don't know how to define it other than what is it that we're trying to avoid. And so, you know, if we're looking for toxins, we're looking for smells, we're looking for hazards, those type of things, to say that, you know, light industrial is, you know, maybe something that's not as hazardous to the community would be a better approach than to say labor intensive or capital intensive, only because I fear for the fact, like I said, is, you know, everybody's trying, you know, especially with the labor shortage as it is, everybody's looking for ways around labor. And then when you amortize a machine over 20 or 30 years of its life versus having to pay for that labor every year, it may be a break even. So to say that, yeah, the upfront cost on the machine may be $500,000-$600,000, but you divide that over, you know, 30 years, now it's only $20,000 a year. So I think it's,
Where did we end up on industrial?
well, we
It's
kind of
just
took industrial
whole
out, and we're only
wrong
going to
thing.
do light industrial.
Just take the whole thing out.
Because
whole
we're
wrong
not allowing any real industrial. We only have the two districts that have light industrial. But again, I think we should more define what we don't want.
I missed the little thing.
Yeah, the podium's in there around the
Yeah,
corner.
the current definition combines industry and industrial. Includes the entire range of economic activity, which sounds very broad, and as applied to specifics, for example, manufacturing, wholesale, retail services, et cetera, shall have the meaning set forth in the standard industrial classification manual published by the Executive Office of the President of the U.S. Management, Office of Management and Budget as currently updated. So it simply references another document, but then we have to keep up on that document
Where are you reading
as it's
from?
amended. That's in the current code,
Oh, in the current code.
right? And I think where it's important, again, last time we met, we were thinking that the light industrial district, that this definition is important because we have this district. But again, that light industrial district allows for some uses that are not necessarily light industry, right? So, machine shop or major vehicle repair, including auto body work and auto painting, it could be light industry, medical, dental, or health clinic, wholesale printing, which given its chemical use may or may not be considered light, heavy equipment sales or rental, excavation and mining, this is industry, wholesale business or service not otherwise specified herein. Again, really broad. So I think if we define, do we have to define industry because it's not mentioned in the code? And then maybe we don't define it and the interpretation has to come from, on a case-by-case basis. And if we define it, then we're holding ourselves to that definition, as opposed to something that's not, because it's not specifically mentioned in our code, then the interpretation goes beyond our code, right? And so maybe we don't define it because it doesn't really apply anywhere.
What about this definition that we took out, light processing and light manufacturing? It's crossed out. I don't remember the exact circumstances why Neil obviously recommended that we eliminate that.
Well, he lumped it all into that new category that he created there.
Say that again, I'm sorry?
He lumped it all into that new category.
Into industry,
Well, he has industrial.
industrial?
Right, which became huge.
Because the light processing, light manufacturing kind of sounds like what you were talking about, Dean. A use involving the manufacture of a product but not requiring heavy, noisy, or otherwise objectionable machinery
Right.
or transporting
And
equipment.
I kind of like that
That's what we like.
definition for light industrial.
Then why don't we
And-
put the, yeah.
And I like that it refers to 250-28,
Exactly.
general standards,
The
right?
performance standards.
So why don't we reinstate that? You can
As
change,
light industry,
if you,
light
you
industrial.
can change the heading if you want, but I mean, if the definition suits the purpose, then
Right.
keep it.
I'm good with that.
Change
Mhm.
change it to.
That seems to be what we've been saying.
Right, so change it to light industry or whatever.
Right,
you
so
wanna call it.
eliminate industry/industrial altogether
And get, yeah,
and simply refer to light industry.
So we get rid of this one.
And then we're also eliminating the words processing and and manufacturing and let it all fall under light industry. Is that right?
Ray may not agree.
Sorry?
What's that?
Ray may not agree.
He probably doesn't.
He's on his way to the mic.
Now, I just wanted to comment, you said about taking out injection. For example, down at the Old Virginia Chemical Plant, their plastic is almost all injected that they use. So that's very common in many of the manufacturing operations, so you don't want to make them illegal. They've been there for 40, 50 years, okay, doing that stuff. So
Where is injection referred to?
I just heard
I think that was the thing that we're taking out
Oh,
there.
we're taking it out, okay.
Okay, I just want to be sure that we didn't that we didn't require that to not be there
Yeah.
in that facility, that's all.
Right, because we're actually making the definition more broad, so that would fall into light industry. Right, right, so we're not mentioning it specifically
No, we're not
as
mentioning
allowed or not
anything
allowed, we're just
specifically.
defining light industry.
Yeah.
Right.
Moving on to lake.
Do we need to say for the purposes of this chapter? I mean, I think everything here is for the purposes of this chapter. I would suggest just eliminate that.
Yeah. And in wildlife
So anything
conservation.
bigger than 1 acre is considered a lake. It's kind of
1 acre-
small,
1
really. if
acre
you
or
think-
larger.
This is the old definition, it hasn't changed, it's just,
No,
it's just
I'm
been-
not saying we need to change it, I'm just saying it's kind of,
Well, do we have a definition for pond? Yeah, here it is.
Less than an acre?
Less than an acre for a pond.
Yeah.
Same definition, but it's just a different size.
so I was always under the impression,
1 acre
because
is
I used to go to the YMCA camp, the Poughkeepsie Y had a camp up in Connecticut and Massachusetts border, and they used to change the name between Harmon's Pond and such lake based on whether the beavers had dammed the lake and made it 25 acres or more, it became a lake. If it was less than 25 acres, it was a pond.
What, does DEC have a definition?
I haven't looked, but
I wonder.
I've always been under
Oh,
that
yeah,
impression.
If there's a cutoff in terms of size? 1 acre doesn't seem like very
No,
much for a lake.
1 acre sounds like a pond.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm back here on the one, just that prior one, junkyard. At the very end where it says, a motor vehicle shall be deemed not to be in operating condition if it is no longer in condition for legal use on public highways, which has not been registered and inspected if required. For example, the town would be in violation of that because the 30-day thing, we take the winter snowplow trucks off license all summer, and that's like 4 months or 5 months, which saves on the insurance, and so we'd be in violation of this. They're not registered to go because they don't have license.
But they're still registered and inspected, aren't they?
Yeah, but they can't
They're
go on the
registered
road.
vehicles, they're just not insured.
They're not insured, and
They're
they're
not
not
insured.
on the road. So, I mean, that's one quick that I could figure out, and there could be, say, some snowbirds, for example, leave their cars up here all winter while they're down in Florida for 4 months, 8 months, whatever it is, and the registration can run out, the inspection could run out, so now they're
Should we
considered a
say
junkyard.
outside? I mean, what if someone had it?
So it says, though, 2 or more motor vehicles.
Yeah.
Not in operating condition. Well, I'm just saying, a snowbird would generally have one.
Well, you never know.
And they
The
probably
son
have
has
them in a
one.
garage.
Husband has one, the wife has one, who knows? Everybody has a car nowadays. So it's just a complication there that gets tricky to it.
Which has not been
Ensure it,
registered and inspected.
and ensure that the town obeys the law that we write too,
Mm-hmm.
So there are ways around it, but I'm just saying, as written, it's got a problem.
So it doesn't say anything about inspection, though, or
Insurance.
insurance, though. It does say that it has not been registered and inspected, and all of our vehicles have been registered and inspected.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
but we do take them off insurance.
Yeah.
So it's not able to be written on a road,
Yeah, it's not in a condition for legal use
What
on a
the-
public highway.
That's right.
If you get a car registered and inspected, it's good for a year.
Yeah.
So what is this 30 continuous days? What does that mean?
So like, say your
could run
inspection
out.
lapsed more than 30 days ago.
Oh, is that what it means?
Yeah.
This also says in operating condition if it is no longer in a condition of legal use. It would still be in legal use if it was operable,
It's illegal if it doesn't have its insurance.
but it's in a condition for legal
Yeah.
use.
You know,
Yeah, and then it says and.
yeah, so it's, I don't think, in an awkward situation, it should be resolved somehow.
That is an awkward sentence.
We're going backwards.
Yeah, never mind.
We're going backwards.
Never mind. All right. Back to lake and pond. Can we find out what the cutoff is between
Yeah,
lake and
he's got
pond?
it.
Oh, okay.
From the DEC website, New York has lakes of all sizes. There is no standard definition of what constitutes a lake or pond in New York State.
Great, terrific, thank you.
So there isn't a tennis now.
Correct. It says, however, the Division of Water commonly uses 7,850 as the number of lakes, reservoirs, and ponds in the state, but it doesn't say how they come up with that number.
That doesn't help us.
Well, there are also over 500 larger unnamed ponds. So I think it's
All right.
up to us. An acre is pretty small,
It's not much.
but
So everyone has the ability to have their own island on their lake there, just have like a little,
Well, you want to
In their
increase it,
pond.
make it larger than one?
do we know,
Gonna make a difference?
It's an arbitrary number.
right, is there a reason within the code to differentiate between lake and pond? Is if it's a speedies issue, it falls to the DEC anyway, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So does it come up anywhere besides
Well, they're all
seeker?
covered- I mean, they're all covered by the wetland law. So-
That's just open body of water,
Exactly.
right? So it
That
doesn't
means
matter the
anything.
size, right? If,
Yeah.
if it's, the size only matters if it's in a marsh wetland, then, but if it's an open body of water, it's 100 feet.
So I will say
regardless.
there's some funny wording here. I have to find it.
250-65 is lakes and ponds.
Yep. I just had it, sorry.
Let's see what it says for lakes and ponds.
Any excavation for the purpose of building a pond or lake of water surface larger than 1 acre, which means it couldn't be a pond or lake, it would only be a lake, shall require a pond permit.
Actually, it should require a lake permit.
I'm just saying, that's what it says in
That's
250-65.
confusing. Well, keep that and change 1 acre to 2 acres. And then,
Yeah, and then everything's
and
fine.
then the wording in 65 is okay.
Yeah.
So what are we doing?
If we change the definition of lake to 2 acres or larger,
Okay.
and pond to 2 acres or smaller,
Acres or small.
then it will conform with 250-65. It still won't, why, what else?
No, because 65 says, of water surface larger than 1 acre shall require a pond permit. So then we're issuing a pond permit for a lake if the lake is 3
Well,
acres.
we could say a pond or lake permit, I
Pond or
mean,
lake permit?
Right,
I mean, what we call it is, we could just say a permit,
a permit, under this chapter.
yeah.
Many fancy people have what they call fish ponds,
Yeah.
which are like as big as a swimming pool or less. Is that considered a pond now in your definition, and they gotta get a permit if
I mean, it
this
was
thing is?
considered a pond earlier.
Huh?
It was considered a pond earlier, less
It's
than 1
always
acre.
been a 1 acre.
Less than 1 acre was a pond. That's all it is, an inland body of water for the purpose of this chapter has a surface of water area of less than 1 acre.
But you only need a permit if it's above 1 acre. Permit.
Yes,
Oh, is that how it was?
yes.
Okay.
You know, I'm just trying to get rid of the small stuff like
Yeah,
that.
of course.
that Pops up and then, you know, I'm not talking about kids' wading pool or anything like that, but some people have koi fish and little ponds that are 10 by 10 or something like that and get all excited, or Japanese fancy gardens, you know, with all that stuff.
What are you looking at?
So 65 stays the way it is. Shall require a permit issued by the zone, right? We're going to take out pond?
Yeah.
Any excavation for the purpose of building a pond or lake of water surface larger than 1 acre shall require a permit.
Issued by the zoning administrator.
Right, and take out pond, because it could be either a pond or a lake, depending on how big it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have
So
to
that's
take
65?
250, yeah.
So it's the permit requirement for 65 still stays at 1 acre, but the
Yes.
definition of lake goes to 2 acres.
Right, so we're going to take out the use of the word, when it says
Correct,
pond.
the second
permit.
pond.
Just
And
change it to
the
permit.
permit will just say
Right.
permit, not pond permit.
But it still applies if it's larger than 1 acre.
Right,
So it would apply to both,
right. So you can have a 1 acre pond,
or a
a
lake.
1.95 acre pond.
Yep.
Right.
And a
2 acre lake.
2.01 acre lake.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, it's a good thing Ian's not here.
All right, still in the L's. You guys are not doing what I asked.
Do you have his definitions that he sent us, by the way?
No, I didn't see them. Land in wildlife conservation, it's been unchanged except for the definition name.
Given that there are specific conservation districts and conservation easements, again, is there a reason that we define this in our code? And the definition doesn't say anything about it having to be in an easement, which seems to me to the potential for confusing for people who might think that they have land in an easement and then go to the assessor and say, yeah, but it's in conservation based on this definition. I mean, the definition, the heading aside, simply refers to set aside, untouched land. And why do we need to define that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we don't even create the conservation easements
Right.
or anything else, so.
Right, and we don't regulate somebody's open forest,
Right.
right, or fields.
I'm trying to see if the actual term is used at any
Right.
point.
It should be shown on a map if you want to control it, otherwise people have no idea what you're talking about. Because it could be any place.
It's in the schedule of use regulations, and that's it.
Hate this thing. Is this, what is this, land and
Yeah, land use.
wildlife?
It's under land and wildlife conservation, but. I see it.
But it's not in any of our regulations.
No. It's only in the definitions and it says schedule of use. Land and wildlife conservation. Site plan required, no, and it's permitted everywhere,
Well, it's permitted everywhere, I'm sure.
so.
Yeah.
Move it.
Yeah, because if someone wants to have land
Yeah,
conservation.
like, go for it.
that's- Whatever. So we should delete it?
Just delete it. Landfill? Ooh, didn't we just do junkyard? Going once, twice, 3 times for landfill?
Fine with it.
Yeah, it's been eliminated.
Yeah, and Ian said it, he couldn't find land, wildlife conservation where it's used. So,
You have his, is that the list of definitions he gave us?
yeah,
Yeah, I can't find that. I was looking for it. All right,
landfill, he said delete.
why?
Fundamentally, how is this different from junkyard? I think they should be treated as the same, both prohibited in the town.
I think landfill is more of
Yeah.
burial
Yeah.
or,
Yeah,
and I think junkyard is something that's more above ground.
right.
Can we pause for 1 minute? Hey, Brandon? Yeah? I got text messages saying that there's no camera tonight, but they can hear us, but they can't see us. Yeah, I don't see it on the, but I can't see, there we go. Yeah, that's. All right, if you can work on it, we can keep going.
To Ian's point, as far as not, or as far as eliminating landfills, 250-60 is landfills, dumps, or transfer stations, and refers specifically to those that are owned or operated by the town of Clinton. So any landfill or transfer station shall be owned or operated by the town of Clinton. No privately owned or operated landfills, dumps, or transfer stations are permitted in any district. It seems to me that we do need a definition for landfill then, and that we should not eliminate it.
I don't think we eliminated it. Landfill?
That was Ian's suggestion.
Ian's
Oh,
suggestion
right.
says delete.
That it falls in a junkyard, but I think to Chris's point, landfill is more implied that it's going to be buried, whereas a junkyard is exposed.
Yeah. You're filling in the land or filling in the void and covering it.
The beginning of the definition of landfill says a lot or land area used for the disposal or abandonment. Then it says burial, burning, or other disposition. So in that case, I can see where it could be confused with junkyard.
Thank you.
If landfill is specifically to burying, then that should be first.
Okay, so we just keep it the way it is? Yeah. Laundry self-service?
And I believe that's only in Schedule of Uses as well,
What's that?
but we need the definition. Laundry self-service. Or dry cleaning establishment.
It is allowed in the hamlet.
All right, so we're keeping that light manufacturing one, but changing the name or whatever. Lodger was already, I think, debated through the short-term rental law.
Gotta add something there.
Okay?
You got to add Airbnb. It's
A
not,
lot, okay.
it's not included in those words that I see there. It's not a motel, hotel, rooming house, boarding house, B&B.
Yeah, so lodger does not apply to bed and breakfast, boarding house, rooming house, hotel, or motel. It does apply to Airbnbs.
Should we say that?
An Airbnb is
Short-term rental?
a company name.
Yeah, it's short-term.
Well, I used that as a reference, but I'm just saying
So,
Maybe we should clarify that.
it should
say
be
does-
in there as one of the terms. That's all I'm saying.
That it does apply to short-term rentals.
I just don't want to limit us to say that it only applies to it in case something comes up where it should
So
also
what-
apply.
Why does it not apply to bed and breakfast, boarding
Because
house,
when
rooming
we
house?
were doing the short-term rental law, we needed to distinguish between what a bed and breakfast, a boarding house, rooming house, hotel, motel were, and so they have their own definitions. So we were using the word lodger over and over again in the short-term rental law, and so we just find it to not include those things. But those things do have their own definitions of who stays there.
So in 250-33 refers to guest. It doesn't specifically use, that's bed and breakfast establishments, 250-33. Such establishments shall not exceed 6 guest bedrooms. The proprietor may serve meals to guests. So it uses the word guest. Do we have a definition of guest?
I do not know.
I don't think so.
Right, so do we need a definition of guest, or do we simply have them all fall under lodger? There is a difference between short-term rentals and bed and breakfast.
Yeah, there is no guest.
So again,
So we could put under guest, see lodger.
right. Except that it says it doesn't apply to bed and breakfast. So I'm still not understanding why lodger does not apply to other entities that have people who are lodging there.
Well, I think I would want to go back and look at all of the public hearings that we had for zoning, for the SDR, because there were definitely reasons.
Okay.
I'd have to look back at it, but we absolutely had reasons that we wanted it to have its own definition. so that those things wouldn't cross over each other.
Okay.
We didn't want an Airbnb, a short-term rental, and a bed and breakfast. They needed to be separated somehow, and that was a difficult thing that we did. We were
Right.
we
Okay.
were threading a needle on
I
that
would be
one.
curious to go through that, because the clear definition for bed and breakfast is they can serve breakfast. So, but that's only looking at one of them that we're talking about, right?
So this lodger that's in the book is different than the lodger that we have under the short-term rental.
So what is that?
So under the short-term rental, it just says lodger is any person who occupies a dwelling or accessory dwelling unit or any part thereof while being utilized as a short-term rental in exchange for consideration for monetary or otherwise. And then it breaks it down into type 1, type 2. So this definition of lodger that we
Yeah, that we passed, yeah.
we passed is different than
Yeah,
what
because this was done before
this
that,
was done way before.
yeah.
So, I'm sorry, Dean, that was passed as part of the STR law?
Yes.
Okay,
So this definition should match what's in there,
yes.
should it not?
It's already here.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, but what we're
It's
saying
already,
is.
it's already in my notes
Oh,
as the revised
okay,
definitions.
okay, okay.
This is the old definition in the book
So
that
can
we're
you-
working on.
Okay,
Do we have that one?
Well, it would be on the emails that I've sent you already.
Yeah, I know.
so this will become the same as that?
Yes.
What's here, okay.
No, what's in my revised
Right, and
is different than the
So
book.
can you read that for them?
that's how it is on E-code 360, so it's been updated there.
Oh, yeah, because it's been
Any
updated.
person who occupies a dwelling or accessory dwelling unit or any part thereof while it is being utilized as a short-term rental in exchange for consideration, monetary or otherwise.
So then it
That
does-
is the
But
official
then-
definition of
But
lodger
then
right
you
now.
want to keep where it says this definition shall not apply to, that should stay. Why
Well,
not?
No, we took it out.
because what we did is we made it, or any part thereof, while it is being utilized as a short-term rental in exchange for.
So it isn't necessary to say that it doesn't apply to the others because it
Because
is
it's
only used
only-
as a
So
short-term
this whole
rental.
thing is going to change, all right.
And then I break it down with type 1, type 2
Yeah.
All right.
as being hosted short-term and non-hosted. So when I've given you the last revision, which was on 720,
Yeah,
it would have
it's
been
in
there.
there. All right, so I'm just gonna guess that Ian had a lot of notes for the word lot.
Not a lot. But a little.
Yeah.
Piece parcel.
And I would define as a piece, parcel, tract, or plot of land. Why is the rest there? We need one term that just refers to all land in town. The last sentence perhaps needs to be retained. I cannot tell. So corner lot, coverage lot, lot depth, lot frontage.
So he said, we don't need to say piece, parcel, tract, or plot, basically, right? Is that what he's saying? Just say a parcel of land?
No, he's saying we
or
could
something?
say all of that, but he doesn't understand why in fee and occupied are designed to be occupied by a principal building or buildings. He doesn't think any of that needs to be there, is what I understood. Because, I mean, an empty lot is an empty lot. Yeah.
So I had, at one point, we said add site.
Yeah, I have that too, a piece, parcel, tract, site, or plot of land.
Yeah. Period?
And maybe leave the where a lot is in common ownership. That's what he was saying. Yes, sir?
I was just checking at the next page where lot covers the entire page. So in a case where a parcel occupies, I'm trying to think the right way to say this, we have in the town lots that are made up of two parcels, or parcels that are made up of two lots. So, for example, 2434 9G. It has, it's made up of three lots. One of them is in the town of Clinton, town of Hyde Park. Two of them are in the town of Clinton. They have different parcel ID numbers. So it's one lot, two parcels. And I believe it was probably done because part of it's in the AR3 district and the other part's in the AR5, and the lines match. And the parcel ID numbers are the same except for the last 4. So there are other lots like that, that's just the one that comes to mind. Do we need to account for that, which I think is why it says in here, premises and property may mean one lot or multiple lots
Oh, I see what you mean.
when used in reference to a subdivision.
Yeah.
And we don't have a definition for parcel. We have parent parcel.
I mean, we're assuming that this definition that you're reading here assumes that a parcel is smaller than a lot.
Correct, right. So the assessment, so for example, with the property given in the example, they get 2 tax bills, one for each parcel,
Yeah.
but it's all one lot. It's sold, the deed covers all 3 parcels in the 2 different towns.
In that case, there should be an indication somewhere in here that parcel is smaller than a lot, because usually the 2 terms are used interchangeably.
Right,
But you're saying no.
correct, right.
So we need to say that,
Right, so I think we need to write a definition for parcel when we
Yeah.
get to the Ps.
which is not here, there is no. there is
Right.
none.
And so,
Give himself homework.
yeah, so lot being larger,
Why not?
is it necessary that the lot relates to the deed? I don't know.
Well, a deed it would include, if there are multiple parcels, they would all be there, right?
Yeah, the one that comes to mind refers to them as A, B, and C, right? Parcel A, parcel B, parcel C,
Yeah.
all one lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing, Hellenberg Way is the same way.
Yeah,
That whole thing is
mhm.
different deeds for each one of those little pieces, because they can't make them into building sites.
Well, but then if, we can say that a lot is a parcel of land, because it's not. It could be multiple
Right.
parcels.
So
It could be
is-
something else.
Is a lot a piece, parcel, tract, or plot of land bounded as a single deed?
I just
What
Googled
if,
this.
what if a lot is just one thing, not multiple parcels? Then it's just a lot. It doesn't have pieces to it, right? It's just a single lot.
Right, but if we're doing a special use permit, that special use permit applies to the lot. It doesn't apply to, the parcels aren't like carved out, right? So there has to be a differentiation.
I just Googled this Wikipedia, and this is the answer, for, in real estate, a lot or a plot is a tract or parcel of land owned or meant to be owned by someone. Then a plot is essentially considered a parcel of real property in some countries, or immovable property, meaning practically the same thing in other countries. That's definitely confusing, because it's in essence, the theory is a lot or parcel is the same thing.
Right, right. And in our town, there are a number of examples where it isn't. So I think we need to account for that.
Again, how would it affect someone coming to you or, the building inspector as to where is that definition really of concern?
I think predominantly when it comes to special use permits or variances, and if a lot and a parcel are the same thing, then, again, in the example given, that division between those 2 parcels it essentially cuts the property in half. So their rear yard setback then gets dramatically reduced.
Because
If-
we've had issues in the past where the county has given ID numbers to several parcels, but they've never been legally subdivided.
Yes.
So they're all one lot, especially when it takes a road that cut through it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
a road.
And it's always been a contention as to, do I need to get a subdivision
Right.
Because
Right.
the county has already subdivided my land by putting the road through, or
Right.
what have you, or they've issued me 2 tax ID numbers, and we've always argued that, well, we're superior to the fact that,
Right.
the county has done it illegally.
Right.
Right,
And there have also been cases even more extreme where people have sold land based on that.
Right.
Without having done a legal subdivision.
Right.
But because there are separate tax numbers, the assumption is it's a separate parcel and I can sell it. And in fact, in Clinton, you can't without doing a subdivision.
right. That's why I think it's important to relate it to the deed. So the deed bounds however many parcels make up the lot, right? So at least so in the examples that I've seen so far, that's been the case. So if I go and I look for the Bel Air was another one, right, where it was a subdivision that was done forever ago, but each one was given its own parcel ID number, and each one is deeded individually. And then there are 2 additional lots that are shared by all of the owners of those other parcels, and those are also deeded individually. So each one in that case is both a lot and a parcel, right? But they could have simplified the whole process by deeding the 2 right along the road as one lot, even if they left it as 2 parcels for some reason.
Because I believe that was part of the confusion and contention with the junkyard, whether it was 2 lots or it was 1, to the number of accessory structures it could have on the parcel.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it seems that parcel relates to assessment, because each parcel ID that I've seen has its own tax assessment, but there are lots that are made up of multiple parcel IDs. So that, to me, is sort of what drives me in that a parcel can be a lot can be multiple parcels, but that a parcel is an
If
individual
someone comes
thing.
into you and wants to put in an accessory dwelling unit and has 2 parcels in a 5-acre zone, one is 4 acres and one is 6, you wouldn't say you have to put it on the 6?
I would look at the lot.
You would look
Yep,
at
I would look at the deed.
the total 10 acres?
Right, yep. So in a case where, and you can see this on parcel access too, again, using the example of 2434, the 2 parcels that are in the town of Clinton are shown as one lot, and the parcel ID number shows up when you do the full property card.
So it's more for the tax side of it.
The parcels, correct. That's what it
That
seems
makes
to me.
sense.
So then should lot really reference the deed? So
That's what I think.
a deed that, encompasses a piece, parcel, or tract?
Yeah, that's what I think. So the piece, parcel, tract, or plot of land bounded as a single deed.
Should we say 1 or more pieces, parcels, tracts, sites, or land
No.
bounded by a single deed?
Well, no,
Because
because
it could be multiple
Oh,
parcels.
sorry, we have to eliminate parcel, then.
eliminate parcel
Yeah.
to avoid confusion.
Yeah, a piece, tract, or plot of land.
Okay,
Because we're going to
Right.
define that separately.
Right, then, yes, when we get to
Oh,
the
yeah,
piece, we'll do the
okay.
parcel.
Just take that out completely.
a piece, tract, site, or plot of land?
Bound as a single deed. And I agree with that. I don't think we need to keep all the rest of it.
Same or single?
Bound within the same deed.
In the same deed?
I think single makes more sense.
So bound by a single deed?
Yeah.
And then are we getting rid of the whole occupied, designed to be occupied?
Yeah, I agree with Ian. I don't really understand the reason
don't
for
see why
having
it's
that in
there
there.
either.
Because anything is designed to be occupied.
I mean, the only thing he suggested is maybe keeping the last sentence there where a lot is a common ownership as part of a cluster development. Premise shall mean area related to or property owned by resident of one dwelling unit.
In a cluster development, isn't it still made up of individual?
Yeah, it
Lots,
is. I
right?
don't know why he says
Yeah.
it should be in there, but.
Yeah, the other confusion there is the New York State Liquor Authority defines premises as a specific building within a lot, or within a lot. So it implies then for those like farm brewers, farm wineries, for example, it creates a level of confusion if we use the word premises, because it implies that it's the same definition and it's not, it's different.
Here's another definition as far as a legal definition. In the law of real estate, one of several parcels into which real property is divided, a lot is ordinarily one of several
Contiguous?
Contiguous, thank you. Pieces of land of which a block is composed. So a lot is one of multiple parcels.
Right.
So this
Right.
is the legal definition here.
Yeah, so that corroborates.
So you think premises should not be here? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And I don't know about where a lot is in common ownership as part of a cluster development. I want to look at the cluster development section and see if there's a reason for
Just
that.
cut it all out.
Yeah, that's my inclination, is to agree with that. And again, let the section on cluster development spell out what the code is on cluster development, take it out of the definition.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll change lot to that.
What about the previous sentence where it says premises and property? Take that out too?
Yes.
Can you do a search for premises? See if premises.
Most of the situations that you're just describing here came about probably in the 1950s and 1960s. And if you look very carefully at a lot of them, you'll see that they do not have road access to a public highway. They have a private driveway that came in. It could be macadam, it could be dirt, doesn't matter. But that's how they get in and out. And they can't become official parcel because they don't bound and have any access way of getting from their landlocked parcel on this private road, for lack of a better word, or driveway. And that's what's happened. And that's existed because the guy that wanted to sell the land said, okay, here, I'll give you a road, and here's 1 acre, 2 acres, and populate it, and nobody cared about anything else. So, I mean, that's when it happened, before all this zoning came into business. So I don't think anything recently has happened in that form, but it's all from the 60s.
Well, the only other confusion was over there on Hummingbird there.
Well, that's what I said,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I was involved with some of that earlier. But the point is that that Hummingbird one was in existence in the 50s and 60s before zoning was really
Yeah.
available. And they didn't put a private road in, and it's got a lot of confusion that comes up because of that. But, and the same thing with the one up here off of Bull's Head. So, there's others like that, but that's essentially how they came into existence. I don't think they exist anymore because we're too stringent on splitting up lands and giving building permits and stuff anymore.
So moving on, lot area minimum?
We had said we were putting lot area back. Is that, or I have a note, is that true?
Yeah, I have it
Okay,
there. Yep.
all right. Lot area minimum, see buildable lot. We didn't make any notes on buildable lot.
I don't know where we are with all the lots there, but the one comment I had was lot frontage, which is about in the middle. I think it should say that portion of the lot which abuts the public street, because you don't want it into a driveway, like I just cited all of these things.
Anything changed on corner lot, lot corner?
So for lot area minimum, we're using buildable lot? Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to go back and look at that, just because there is a section of the code when it talks about, there's a requirement, a minimum of 20,000 square feet. A lot must be at least 20,000 square feet to put a septic system on it. Yeah, so.
Less than a half acre.
Right. So I just want to go back and read that again to make sure that it fits with that. That in order for it to be buildable, it has to be able to accommodate a septic, right?
So have you looked at it?
Sorry?
Have you looked at it?
Yeah, it
does
takes me
seem
a while
to
to go
have
back and
it.
forth. Yeah, okay.
So what we had written down was the lot having a buildable area capable of accommodating proposed principal and accessory improvements, including where required an on-site water supply facility and sewer treatment system that meet the standards of the Dutchess County Department of Health. A buildable lot shall also adjoin and have access to improved street, or shall adjoin and have access to a proposed street that will be improved as part of a development plan for the lot. So it doesn't have your half acre, but it is requiring.
Yeah, it is, that is where I'm
Yeah.
straight, okay.
The only argument would be if at some point in time we have, because of off there on Talor, up at the top of the hill, they were talking about putting their own sewer system in.
That's right. And water. And reconfiguring all the subdivision up there.
Anything on corner lot? Lot coverage, lot depth. Ray gave me the lot frontage, make it public street. Lot lines, lot interior. I think we're at Z now, right?
I've moved on to luminaires, I'm reading those.
Under lot lines, we can take out as defined herein, which we've been doing pretty consistently.
Right, and capitalized lot.
Yeah,
So that would be the same up in lot frontage and lot depth,
Right.
capital Ls.
And we're eliminating lot of record and lot substandard.
Lot rear, in the middle of it, the middle of the thing, it says distance from the street should be public street. It's not from a driveway. That's where we got into the, multiple lots all over the place, off of driveways or private roads or whatever you want to call them.
Now, Jeff, I don't know where you're reading, but a lot of record in lot substandard has been removed.
That's what I was saying, yeah, I was just confirming that we're removing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ray, what did you just say about rear lot?
Rear lot, it's the second sentence down, about the fourth word in where it says street, make it public street. To define it, otherwise it'd be considered a driveway, private road, whatever you want to call these things.
Have we been removing references to
Section.
sections? I think we've been taking them out, haven't we?
Yes, I think we have been.
Seems unnecessary. At the end of rear lot, where it says C section so-and-so. Rear lots, well.
Okay.
I think we can manage without that.
Ian says on through lot. You can't find it anywhere.
Through lot?
Yeah, lot through,
Or lot
He
covenant?
couldn't find it anywhere in the code or anywhere on the map.
on the code.
I would be curious if we have any anymore.
I've never-
And what would be the reason for a
never heard
definition?
of that.
Because it would still be treated the same, except that the confusion would be in setbacks, right? Because like on a corner lot, your front yard setback is measured, you have 2 front yard setbacks, because it's each street. So if you were a through lot, would you have 2 front yard setbacks and no rear yard setback? But it's not mentioned in the code. So, and do we
It'd
have
almost be
any?
like
I don't know if we have
corner lot,
any.
Because you have 2 front yards.
You do.
actually.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have to have 100 feet of setback if you're an AR3 or AR5 from both of those streets. So,
There is one, there's actually a couple on Creek Road that go over from 9G and on the side, that'd be a through lot, wouldn't it? We do have a couple of them.
Most of those all exist prior probably to zoning anyways.
Dean?
Yeah.
Just a quick thing here, a little confusion. Let's back up to where it says rear lot. I would, in the second line, I would remove the comma after access way to make it clear that the 40 feet minimum applies to access way. With the comma, it's not clear.
Okay.
Okay?
So should we delete through lot?
Elliot,
Yeah.
I understand
What's that?
why you say that, except that
What?
there's another section where it's confusing because there's a common access way is a driveway that's shared by multiple parcels in a subdivision. But in 250-25 rear lots,
Yeah.
the access way is described as the whole 40-foot wide strip of land. So you have to have that 40-foot wide strip of land
Yeah.
as an access way.
Right.
But it doesn't actually have to provide access to
Right.
the lot, right?
Right.
But if you look at the definition of access way,
Right.
it's a means of access to the lot. So there's a lot of confusion in there around those words. And again, common access way refers to a physical driveway. Right.
So are we keeping the comma or are we not?
I don't know.
The way I read it, the minimum width of 40 feet applies to the pole of a rear lot.
Rear lot to public highway.
But if there's a comma there, it doesn't quite so clearly apply to the pole. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with you.
Anyway,
Alrighty.
I mean, the other issue that Jeff raised is a substantive one, that maybe we should talk about as well, but I was just looking at the,
Yeah. But yeah, eliminating the comma helps this definition.
okay.
The other issue is a separate issue of confusion. Yes.
Well,
But
that may be,
that helps this, at least.
okay, well,
Yeah.
that could well be too. Anyway,
So in terms of through lot, there doesn't seem to be anything in the code that references a through lot. But maybe there should be, again, going back to the corner lot and setbacks, and driveway permits and access. So if there's no harm in leaving the definition in, it's a pretty straightforward, simple definition. I would recommend leaving it.
Well, Ian has a comment. He says, I don't understand how this can be one lot that borders the same street at two different places.
of course
Not
it
the
can.
same street.
How is that?
No, two different streets.
That's
Right.
what he's writing.
Two parallel or approximately parallel streets, it says.
Like Chris mentioned on Creek Road 9G where they come together, you have people who have frontage on Creek Road and also on 9G,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
On the west side of Creek Road.
All
Right,
along
yeah,
that
also
stretch
done
of
by
road.
Browns Pond.
I mean,
and
I
that's the big
personally
one,
would
too, right?
imply wherever the front door is the front of the house. I mean,
Right.
and that should be the front yard setback.
Only thing is with the corner lot,
Right, but the corner lot is defined
has two
differently.
front yards. There's there's two front yards and two side yards, but no rear yard.
I understand what you're saying. I just kind of think
Oh,
that the
listen,
front yard setback should be to the
So-
front door.
So would that mean that people could just turn their house when building it so that they can have a shorter setback on one side?
They may have to. I've seen houses in sideways because they
Well, I
have
know.
narrow lots.
I know they may have to. What I'm saying is people will do it so that they can have it closer to a road?
But I'm saying only in the instance of a corner lot.
Okay.
But you know, then there's instances where the front door may be facing this road and the garage may be facing that road.
Yeah.
Right, but we don't have anything in the code that tells you which way your house has to face. And so the setback is based only on the road and the building. So the definition of a front setback is the setback is, as here defined still, measured to the center line of the roadway or street. So it doesn't even reference the building, because it's only relevant to the land. So, because your building might be 200 feet and outside the setback. The setbacks only create the building envelope.
Other than the front line of the building has a
Its own
restricted
thing.
width,
Right,
and that's got to be from the front of the building.
right. Yeah, the
So
building line.
That's another
Right.
constraint.
And because, again, talking about Talor, I mean, if you turn onto Talor, those two houses on the corner there are all in violation because they're, neither one have 100-foot setbacks.
Right, yeah, well,
Either
they would,
direction.
yeah, they would be non-conforming, right?
yeah.
So,
Same thing on Park and the same thing on, you know, all the other little subdivisions that we have.
right. So because we have those, what is currently defined as a through lot, even though they're not, there's no section of code that mentions through lot, it seems that keeping the definition would be important, because if we want to fix that, or if we want to apply a variance, because one of the things that happens when we have a non-conforming use or a non-conforming lot,
A through
that's
lot
never,
doesn't have to be a corner lot, though.
no, but that was to say, we may need to add a section that defines, or that creates a law for setbacks on through lots. Because one of the things that we do when we have a non-conforming lot that comes to us because they want to put a pool in, or an accessory dwelling, or some other common accessory use, we don't want to deny them because it's not their fault that the lot is non-conforming. But part of the process, typically, we have them go in front of the ZBA to get a variance. And that variance is granted so that that variance then runs with the land.
If
And-
somebody comes in, say, one of these houses on Creek Road, typically the front door faces 9G, people live in the back.
Yeah,
No, it's
usually
the other
they
way
face
around.
Creek
Creek Road.
They all face Creek.
Oh, they do?
because they have no driveways onto.
There's no
onto
driveways.
nine,
That's right, no drivers
Right.
onto 9G.
So the front yard is the
Except
front yard.
for,
But it
That's
isn't,
right,
the front yard wouldn't be Creek Road, because all of our setbacks relate to the road, not to the building.
Okay, so.
The
that's-
setback is about the land, not the building, right? Your setbacks create your building envelope where you can put any structure on your property, not just the house. So that setback is always measured from either a property line or the street. And so if you have a street on, bounds on both sides,
Yeah.
then where do you measure your
Well,
rear
That's
lot?
my question. Is the front
Right.
yard determined by usage or by where
No,
the door is?
It is determined by the street.
by the street.
Yeah, the front setback is the setback as measured to the center line of the roadway or street. That's your front
Yeah, but what
setback.
if it's a through lot and you have street on both sides?
Then you would have two front
Could one of them be
setbacks.
considered a primary?
Well, that's my question, I don't know.
Right, yeah, because we don't have a section of code that deals with it, we just have a definition of it. And so my suggestion is we keep the definition and then we write a section of code that deals with it.
All right, so right up to section. So we can at least get out of the.
So then we
tonight.
can move on, right?
Okay. So. Luminaire, since you've been,
You know, I've been
Perusing.
I cannot find where the term is used anywhere.
Ian says the same thing.
It's probably not.
I don't think it is used, and anytime that something like this is regulated in our code, it's referred to just as lighting. Not the actual fixture, which is the luminaire.
The more scientific name is luminaire.
Yeah, and that's the fixture.
That's the,
But our code always mentions lighting, never uses the word luminaire,
Then we could take them out.
I would think, because it's confusing. And,
should not define anything that we don't regulate.
yeah, and, I mean, we regulate lighting, but,
Well, luminaire is a thing, it's not. it's
yeah,
not
so,
lighting.
like, we regulate lighting, but we don't regulate that chandelier.
Right.
You know, and that's the luminaire, is the chandelier, so,
We don't have a definition of door.
yeah, exactly. So I don't think we need these.
Been waiting for this, I can see.
We
all deleting luminaires?
I think so.
Hey, we just gained 4 spaces.
Another quarter page.
I just wanted to go back here, lot nonconforming. The last part of that sentence, it says, which is not a buildable lot. It might be a buildable lot, it's nonconforming because it's 3 acres in a 5-acre zone today, but it has all the attributes that it could fit and be built on. So I think that's a,
Have a
That statement-
non-buildable lot by current code.
yeah, I know, but it,
I'm saying, how about I add on,
Yeah,
not,
that would do it,
no, I just
the end
take
of it.
out the statement,
that would qualify.
and which is not a buildable lot, just take that out.
I mean, I could take off that last part, or I could add in because of current code.
Yeah, I'd just take it out. I think that's,
All right.
from
So
and to,
and to
to
and.
lot,
Delete.
take it out, and it takes that confusion away. And if it meets, setbacks and septic and all that other good stuff, and it's, 3 acres in a 5-acre zone, it's acceptable. Okay.
To Ray's point, in 25081, sorry, 25082 non-conforming lots, it starts with, "Nothing herein shall prevent the use of a non-conforming lot." So if our definition calls it that it says it is not a buildable lot, that seems a contradiction.
Yeah.
So I think we should delete that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Machine shop?
Okay, so luminaire is out.
Luminaire's out.
All these
All 4
luminaires.
of them.
Oh, worked so hard on those, too.
In machine shop, is major vehicle repair
That's right.
crossed out?
That's
Because
crossed out.
What's that?
Yeah, it was crossed out.
Is that because it's going to come off on its own, be its own definition? Because it is in our schedule of use as an allowed use in industrial district.
I don't see it.
It's under machine shop or major
I'm
vehicle
saying I
repair.
don't see, he didn't write a definition for major vehicle repair. So let me look under vehicle, see if it's under vehicle repair.
Or maybe.
I would like to make a copy of this, if you don't mind. Okay.
Vehicle commercial, solicitor, vendor. Nope. Or for repair.
Oh, he did, yeah, on page 36, he has it as motor vehicle service facility,
Yeah.
motor vehicle rental facility, has a whole motor vehicle section.
And I have add in motor vehicle. Probably what a definition is, motor vehicle, I don't know. Motor vehicle, I just wrote, but I don't understand what my note is.
Yeah, so it looks like in the new definition, it just eliminates the word major.
Right.
And so it's
Puts in
motor vehicle repair.
Facility.
Right. Okay, so we'll go over that when we come to it.
So is machine shop okay?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. Manure storage,
It's okay.
mixed use, development.
We should change the, well, when we get to the schedule of uses, because it says machine shop or major vehicle repair.
Where is that?
On the schedule of uses.
Yeah,
Vehicle repair is taken out.
but if we're gonna take out major vehicle repair, then we should remove it from the schedule of uses, right?
No, we did,
It is
it's not
actually.
eliminated, it's moved.
Oh, is it already removed?
Well, on
No.
on our adjusted one, it is crossed
Oh,
out.
okay, fine.
But it wasn't eliminated, it was moved.
Machine shop, right,
Yeah,
okay.
it's just moved and redefined.
It's under MO for motor,
Yeah,
Okay.
Fine.
yeah. But, Mike, you're saying it was proposed to remove it from the schedule of use?
No, the one that says,
Major-
Oh, where the
Machine
combined,
shop.
right, yeah. So, the new definition is motor vehicle repair facility, and it's
Yes.
a couple of pages later,
Yes.
yes.
right? So, we may want to split them out in the schedule of use, so it's more clear.
It's there, motor
Okay.
vehicle repair facility.
Okay, great, thanks.
Is that?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Manure storage, mixed use development, mixed use building,
Building.
okay?
What about people who paint artwork and stuff like that in their house as a studio or something like that? Or what about making clothing or altering clothing and things like this, you know?
That would be an in-home business.
You consider those all home businesses then?
Yeah.
And I mean, it does say a variety of uses, including these
Right, I know.
specific things, so it could be any other variety of uses
Yeah,
too.
I'm just
Yeah.
trying to define it because otherwise, you know, it's not recreation, and it's not entertainment, and it's not sales like retail would be. That's all I meant.
Yeah.
And why do we have both mixed-use development and mixed-use building? Mixed-use development includes building.
Well, development has to do with land.
And a building.
Yeah, mixed-use development includes the buildings.
That you are.
And the definition of mixed-use development doesn't actually reference development. It just defines mixed use.
Looking to see if we, nowhere.
So maybe we can combine the two and simply call it mixed use and use the first definition,
You want to combine mixed-use development and mixed-use building?
right? Because the way the definition is written here for mixed-use development, it already includes the building. It could be land
I think
or
a
building.
mixed-use, well, hold on, a mixed-use building is one single,
Yeah.
building that has multiple uses within it, where
Correct.
mixed-use development could have multiple.
buildings with
and-
multiple uses.
Yeah, no, I can't, I don't think.
No,
we combine them.
it, according to the way it's written, it says use of use of land and/or a building or structure.
For a variety of.
So it's only one building. And it could be the land
I'd
or the
change it,
building.
I'd say use of land and/or buildings or structures, and I would make buildings or structure, or building and structure plural.
Well, you could take out building and just lose structures, plural.
Structure is a building? A building is a structure, I mean.
Either way.
Yeah, something like
Pretty-
that.
pretty
I
much,
think
yeah.
just making it plural, whatever way you want to word it.
Yeah, because I think the development is more than one structure and the mixed-use building is only one structure.
Yeah, if that's the difference, yes, and we should pluralize them, yep.
So I'll just take out,
Change it to, yeah, do what Chris suggested.
I just add buildings or structures.
Just make it plural, yeah.
And/or.
And does that mean we get rid of mixed-use building?
No.
No, because that's a different
One is
thing.
singular and one is
Right.
multiple,
Yeah.
plural.
So, use of land and/or buildings or structures thereon, do we need to add that?
Or just structures, you don't need building,
We don't need building, right?
just say structures.
Use of land and/or structures,
Yeah,
okay.
took out 2 words, you should be happy with that.
Mobile home?
This one, we might want to come back to, partly because in 2 different sections of our code, in one place it says that they're allowed, another place it says that they're not allowed. And I think there's a resolution that has to happen there before we determine
Two sections
how
are
we
they?
have to define
Do you
them. One is in 250, where it's in 250,
yeah.
it essentially says they're not allowed. And I think it's in 106, which is floodplain development. It says that a mobile home is the same as a manufactured home. It actually has a definition in that section that says that they're the same.
Which was the first one?
I forget what it is, in 250,
106 was the second one.
I think it was 106.
Yeah, you're right. We've talked about this. It
Yeah.
was section 106 was one of them, but
Maybe, it might not be 106. It's, I think it's in the floodplains one.
uh,
140.
140.
140.
And then,
140?
yeah, section 140, and then 250-13 mentions them, 250-53 mentions them.
53,
75.
75.
Because Ian has comments here, it says the definition comes almost verbatim from 42 USC 5402, which regulates manufactured homes nationally. I don't believe we should use the definition, and I do not understand why it was used here. A mobile home park is regulated, but if a mobile home does not meet the size test, the park escapes regulation. I would suggest we change the definition to a structure transportable in one or more sections and which is built upon a permanent chassis and designed to be used as a dwelling with or without a permanent foundation when connected to the required utilities and includes the plumbing, heating, air conditioning, electrical systems. This will work better in sections 13, 53, and 75 where mobile home is used.
Yeah, I think that the issue there is going to be with or without the permanent foundation, because if it's without the permanent foundation, then you run into issues with when you need a building permit and what types of buildings are allowed on a property, as well as the storage of recreational vehicles.
So could you
So-
build a mobile home with a permanent foundation as a house?
In some towns you can, it has a permanent foundation, right? And that's
How
where,
do we do it?
right, we're unclear.
And also, mobile homes are also regulated by HUD.
Well, the problem is also the energy efficiency of a mobile home is far
Right.
less
Yeah,
Right.
but it's, but that's,
the building standards today for a
but they don't
regular
go,
home.
Right.
mobile homes are not regulated by, they're regulated by HUD. They gotta be HUD approved, and so,
Right.
yes, the energy standards could be very
Right.
different.
They're also registered by the DOT. So, right,
they're
it's a mobile home.
over the road.
Right, if they have axles, so yeah, right.
Yeah, but
So,
primarily, if you go and like we do a lot of work in mobile homes, and it's HUD approved, so so when I get in, like, when I hook up, there's a few mobile home parks that we do the water and sewer line hookups. The building department doesn't come in and inspect the interior on a new home, as long as they're there to get the HUD approved,
Well, they won't do a modular either, because technically it's.
That's correct.
Engineers by the state.
That's correct, but the connection from the point is
But
what they do.
my question was, could we build a mobile home in this town? And I've always thought, no.
In
Not
250,
building it, you can buy
Even
it.
Arlene says no.
right, in section 250, it says that you
So-
cannot.
So let me
Correct.
ask this question here, because there are a couple mobile homes, one right down at a farm right down here, well, mobile home is a manufactured housing. No,
There-
I used to get in this argument with my grandmother all the time with her house, the manufactured
Well,
house. She would say,
they're all
"Well, we say mobile
manufactured,
home,
but one has a steel frame and one has a wood frame, and one's built to energy code standards of a home, and the other one is not.
And for example, in section 140, it specifically says a mobile home is a manufactured home. But they're
know.
two very different things.
It's manufactured.
Right, it is manufactured, right? But manufactured
mobile.
home typically, and in 250, a manufactured home refers to one that is built in a factory, transported and assembled on site.
Right.
Right? And a mobile home is different. But we have a whole bunch of mobile homes in the town that have been added onto and, made more than double their size in some cases, right? And so, and there are some now that we are faced with having to try to get certificates of occupancy for. And our code doesn't allow for them to be there, so now they're non-conforming, right? So, but the goal of non-conforming is to eliminate non-conformity, excuse me. So I think we have to regulate them. That's why I think this is a bigger thing than,
Okay, so you're gonna
Me
come
too.
back with a,
I think Ray's gonna do it.
okay.
Coming back to this
Scheduled uses, you're right.
situation,
Except for ag issues.
Right,
Except for ag, that's why there's some down.
Mobile homes are not allowed anywhere in town.
no, it is new mobile homes.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
The existing ones were
Non-conforming.
pictured in this 92, in the late 80s, there were pictures made of all the existing mobile homes in the town on their parcels. And they're the only ones that can still exist, so there can't be any new ones. And if they burn down, they can be replaced with the same size, or I think 50% bigger size, because some of them were pretty postage stamp sized. So that's,
But they're allowed on,
in agricultural,
they are.
well, yeah, that's a different,
yeah.
that's a different
No, I know,
situation.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a different situation. But that's how they are. And they've been gradually replacing those homes because of fire or stuff like that. And they said it's cheaper to just build a stick house than it is to try to get another one to replace it. And, building code, you still had to go through all the paperwork for buildings and everything else. My other question came up in this area. There's such a new type of home called the mini home
Yeah, tiny house, yeah.
or tiny home. There's two ways. It's the same building.
Most
Okay.
of them don't fit the minimum square footage issue.
Well, but I'm saying
Most of them are on permanent foundation. They're really more of a,
they can be on, they come on wheels and you can.
built on a frame.
They're built on a frame and you can tote them around, put a plate in the back and stuff.
But usually they're not more than 400 square feet.
I don't know.
And I think our
I know
minimum
they're
code
pretty
is
small.
400.
Yeah,
And financing, I think, is 620 square feet.
yeah. But I'm just saying, we
Anything less
gotta
than that.
think of that and decide, so we,
But the question is, most of them, if they have a registration on their, a trailer plate, I guess it would be, right?
It's a
On
camper,
that-
basically.
It's a camper, so the question is, would that fall under our, we have, what do we have, 60 days or 30 days on that?
Right.
and
I was able to use that to get my brother off my property.
yeah, then you have the other counterpart to that whole thing is the eco housing,
Right.
which is, it could be a mobile home, it could be a mini home, it could be anything that just is temporarily attached to the original house in the parcel.
Yep.
So the mobile home, if you're doing financing, it has to be in the park. They won't finance a mobile home anywhere. So it gotta be in the park. So that's another thing with the mobile home. That's why it's called mobile.
Well, parks are allowed.
There was one lender out there that was doing it on its own lot. It's out of New Hampshire. It's out of New Hampshire. It's been years since I did financing, but we used to do it.
So our current definition of dwelling It says, a house or other building designed or used primarily for human habitation. The word dwelling shall not include tourist homes, mobile homes, camping vehicles, motels, hotels, or other structures designed for transient or temporary residence, right? So that's where you get into the gray area of, if I put it on a foundation, it's no longer transient or temporary. Right? The revised definition just simply eliminates mobile homes from the definition, which then doesn't say that mobile homes are not a dwelling unit. So it just gets worse.
So rather than dwelling on the negative, how do we fix it?
Yeah, we'll look at it.
You bring your chair over there. Sit
Closer to the mic.
Alright. Is it, the mobile home has, you have to, it's like a car, you have to register to the DMV. The manufactured home, I don't think you have to register
You
to
don't have to
DMV.
You can use a temporary plate on a mobile home. They take them off. They don't keep them
Yeah,
registered
you
in a
don't
mobile home
register
park.
as a car.
But they have a
You
specific,
do- You do register it through
Number.
UCC 1, so Universal Commercial Code. You could put a lien on any type of vehicle, whether it be a farm tractor, whether it be a car, whatever. You do a UCC 1, that creates the lien on the vehicle. Versus on land, you put, a lien on the deed by a mortgage and a note.
like, let's say, if I'm selling a mobile home, normally, we have to check it with the DMV, because there's normally
Just
like,
for the transfer, but once it's bolted down, it's not.
You know,
doesn't
like
carry
the
its own
house,
reg-
you have
don't
like a
keep up
deed.
current registration on
Yeah,
it.
they put those temporary transport
It's
plates
a
on it.
temporary transport plate, exactly.
Take it away and reuse it for somebody else.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
They're expensive.
I mean, it's got a VIN number,
yeah, that's what I was.
but that UCC actually puts the lien on that VIN number. It's not the DMV.
It's not really like the house.
Right.
So you're gonna have a definition, Jeff, for mobile home, manufactured home?
Yeah.
Okay.
And mobile home park?
I think that's fine.
Motel? Motel, no-tel, Holiday Inn? Nobody got my song reference, sorry.
Sorry.
Do we need to include offered for rental use principally by motor vehicle travelers?
Yeah, like what if they?
I get that's where the word motel probably comes from, but do we care if they come by train or
Or if
bike
they walk, or
or
if they.
walk?
Well, you're saying delete it anyway?
Yeah, each of which is provided with a separate exterior entrance and a parking space, period.
So we're not deleting the whole thing?
No, just
No, he said
offered
that
for
as a
rental use.
joke.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it wasn't loud enough.
So what are we deleting?
We're gonna delete the "and is offered for rental use principally by motor vehicle travelers," because I don't think we should care how they arrive there.
Well, then we don't need parking space either, in that case.
No, I think there should be a parking space provided for each unit. But do we need all the rest of it?
Yeah, typically has.
I mean, the rest of it is more about code and not about definition. Well, and synonyms,
A restaurant shall not be construed to be an accessory use of a motel.
right, which should not be in the definition, that should be in the section of
Should
code.
not be in the definition.
So delete the rest.
Yeah.
Motorhome, I'm good with.
Motorhome?
Of course, self-propelled has taken on a whole new meaning in this modern day and age.
From a mobile home.
Motorhome is like, it's like.
Has a motor in it.
It's permanently on wheels with an axle, like, like.
It's got an
people that are
engine.
Camping,
Oh.
it has an engine.
It's like you convert a school bus into
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
living quarters. That would be that kind of.
Because it's a
motorhome.
self-propelled vehicle.
Yeah. My comment comes in the first sentence, or equipped for temporary living quarters. Today, many people are full-time RV people. They live in it all year round, and they may come here for 2 months to visit their son, their daughter, go to Florida for the winter to miss the snow and go out to some other place. So temporary living quarters is,
I would just say a self-propelled vehicle is designed and equipped
For living,
for living
living.
quarters.
just
Take
take out
out-
temporary.
yeah, take out temporary. Okay, I just want to be sure.
And change 4 to with.
And what?
Change 4 to with. So equipped with temporary living quarters.
Equipped with living quarters, yeah.
And do we reference camping vehicle?
I mean, there's a much longer definition of camping vehicle that we've already been through. We also took temporary out of that one, so we're consistent at least.
Right.
Excuse me, dear. So you're saying, right now we have those, like they have like a house and they have like a RV or thing that's parked in there, and they want to house their whoever. And right now,
allowed.
it's not allowed. But if you delete the temporary, that's going to be allowed.
No,
On
because
that.
this is just the definition, this isn't the regulation.
Temporary was on the living quarter.
This is just the definition, it's not
Oh,
the
so we're just
regulation.
doing the definition.
I think that's what's happening. Sometimes we're thinking these definitions gotta be the code, but they're not. It's just a defining
It's
moment.
just defining the item in the
Now, we can
code.
make sure that the section that it would pertain to, as everyone's been doing up here or down there.
Yeah.
But somebody could argue a motorhome, it's a motorhome.
Why don't we just simply reference camping trailer? Because it's included in the definition of camping trailer. Motorhomes, fifth wheels, tiny homes mounted on trailer chassis, trailers, blah, 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 are included in this definition.
You mean not have a definition at all?
Right, just say see camping trailer or camping vehicle.
All right. It does mention motorhome.
Specifically, yes. Also, in the definition of camping trailer or camping vehicle, the definition is any recreational vehicle designed as temporary living quarters, blah, blah, which either has its own motive power or is mounted on or towed by another vehicle. So we should be able to eliminate camping trailer and simply have the definition be camping vehicle. Again, just to simplify it,
Okay.
because the definition includes both.
Eliminate camping trailer, is that what you're saying?
Right. So it becomes just a camping vehicle, and motorhome says simply see camping vehicle.
Save another 3 inches of paper.
That's right.
So, the next one is, I have add a definition for motor vehicle. Which I don't have one to offer right now. But I'll try to find one and put it in there. Then item says, on the next 5 motor vehicle definitions, these are done inconsistently. Each should start with a facility on one lot or multiple lots, or multiple joining lots, including its structures and display areas used for, and continue on. Do not use principal use, as even if the use is secondary, it should be regulated. So that's his comment on the next 5 motor vehicle accessory sales and so on and so forth. So what's everybody's thoughts?
Well, maybe we should ask him to rewrite them so we understand exactly what he means.
Yeah.
Well, he's saying take out that first section that says a facility which is its principal use, take out principal use, because he doesn't like that, and just say a facility on one lot or
Oh,
multiple
we could do
adjoining
that.
lots, including its structures and display areas used for, and then you would continue on with the rest of the original sentence.
We could
But
do
then
that.
doesn't the definition cross over into code? Right? If part of the definition is how many lots it can be on, or if it can be on adjoining lots or not adjoining lots, when what we're really concerned about is how are we defining that use? Because we don't currently have a section of code for each of these, right? But there is a strong implication that they fit in the statement of use, schedule of use, under industrial district. So I think it's important to include them, but I think it's also important to just stay with the definitions. And I think the way that they're written here, I think the only change that I see is at the end of each one, it says the sale of motor fuels is not included in this definition, and that's the same in each, except motor vehicle repair facility, it says, but excluding the sale of petroleum products. And that's the only one that says that, and I wonder, is it better for them all to say excluding the sale of petroleum products? Or is it better for them all to say motor fuels?
One of the concerns I would have, and I think we even discussed this during our zoning revision, is the fact that if you're repairing the car and you're putting new oil in it, haven't you sold a petroleum product?
That's exactly my point. Yeah, so yeah, right.
Anything.
It may
Say you ran
be,
out of gas and you put gas in it.
right. And what would be the reason for excluding them from the definition?
Because we didn't want
The waste
petroleum
product.
products,
Right,
basically, you
right,
know, gas stations
right.
and so on.
Right. So then it could be excluding the sale, the retail sale of petroleum products. Right, because if they're sold as part of the service, is that a retail sale?
Well, I think it's all retail sale, but
Yeah,
unless you put it, unless, you know, and that's included as part of a service.
right. So I think that's a really good point, but I still think we still need to answer, if the goal is to exclude petroleum products, then the other paragraphs, the other definitions that say motor fuels should be changed to petroleum products.
Again, I think we're getting into the regulation part versus the definition part, and we're trying to regulate a use
Right.
that I don't think we need to even bring up in here.
Yeah, so eliminate each of those sentences from
So
the definitions.
I would say
Yeah.
we can eliminate those
Yep.
things, we're just trying to define what it is.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with eliminating those and then dealing with it in the section of code. Right.
I would leave in the sale of petroleum products, meaning oil, grease and stuff, and just say the other thing, no, you can do that, but you can't do gasoline and diesel fuel. Those are the two that you can't do.
Again, Ray, I think that should be left into the zoning part.
Okay,
This is
no,
only
but I'm
should-
just
it
saying.
should only be a
That's how
definition
we
part.
split them up.
Right.
And talk about them, get the word.
So are we changing any of these eliminating any part of this definition then?
Yeah, eliminating the last sentence.
The last sentence, where it talks about the sale of motor fuel, is not included. That shows up each time, or almost each time.
The only exception is in motor vehicle repair facility. It ends after parts with a period instead of a comma. So you're eliminating a portion, a phrase, not the whole sentence.
And the one at, sales and service, you would take out the last sentence too, right?
Yeah.
And just end, okay.
You made it to the ends. No?
Dean, could you,
Motor vehicle service facility?
what was it
Yeah.
I said about the beginning? Change something, right?
He wanted to,
What did he have to say about that?
he was saying that, that the beginning shouldn't use the word, principal use. He said a facility, he said a facility on one lot or multiple lots,
Okay.
adjoining lots, including structures and display areas used for, he says that all those definitions should start off with that language
Okay,
and do not use the word principal use.
right. Okay.
That sounds like code, though.
That's
Right.
that's why we.
Because in the code, it would say that the motor vehicle repair facility must be a principal use,
Yeah,
right? In motor vehicle service facility, a facility which sells at retail, right, fuel or other products, blah, 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 and which may include, but is not limited to, as an accessory use, a convenience store. So, the two things about that. If we're going to keep that in there, then it should be, but is not limited to, as an accessory use, a convenience store selling goods and food. Should that be part of the definition, or should that be part of the code? That a motor vehicle service facility can have a convenience store?
That should be part of the code.
That's what I think.
And we keep on going back and forth between, you know, like things like Stewart's. Is it a convenience store? It's a
Right.
gas station?
Right, right,
That should be in the code, not in
Yeah.
the definition.
yeah. And-
The one thing that Ian mentions is under motor vehicle rental facilities, is it's not, it was deleted in the schedule of use, and he can't find it anywhere else, so he thinks that we should delete it.
Yeah, I think that depends on how, again, in the industrial district, where it mentions the motor vehicle repair, major, I forget how it's worded, a major vehicle repair, something like that.
Well, this is a rental.
Yeah. Do we think that that might be a common accessory use to something that sells vehicles or repairs vehicles, or, right? And is it something that we want to not have in the
Repair is
town?
good. Repair is good, but not rental.
Right,
There's too many other places to rental around here.
Well, again, our size of a town would probably not warrant a
Right.
car rental place.
yeah. So if we're
But some
not,
repair facilities sometimes
Right.
give you a loaner,
right,
But that's,
Right.
but you sign a rental agreement.
right. That may be a livable gray area.
Yeah.
So the question is, do we not want to allow motor vehicle rental facilities in the town? In which case, then we delete this definition
They're
and
not
don't
allowed.
add it to the.
They're already not allowed,
Right,
so.
right, exactly.
It's just defining it.
Right.
Right.
take it out.
So then we eliminate it.
yeah, we don't even need to define something
Right.
that's not allowed, right?
Right.
Well, sometimes you do, depending
If we
on-
specifically don't want it,
Yeah.
then we usually define it so that
Right.
it's
Right.
not a gray area.
So in the service facility, we would eliminate, eliminate, and which may include but is not limited to it as an accessory use.
Yeah.
And have that in the section of code.
Well, the question I had in that particular one, where it says, but is not limited to, as an accessory use, a convenience store selling goods and food for off-site consumption. What if a guy who's a worker there buys a candy bar in the store? He can't eat it inside, he's got to go someplace else to eat the candy bar. I mean, being somewhat difficult about it, but,
But again, I think that's more of a regulation.
well, I'm just saying, the way
Motor
it's
vehicle
written.
service facility, I don't think we need to mention anything about convenience store. So I would delete the whole, from that "and" all the way to the end.
If Jeff issues a violation to someone for eating a candy bar, we're gonna have problems.
Or a bottle of soda or
Yeah.
whatever. So where we start eliminating from?
From maintenance period, everything else, and which may include,
Okay.
all comes off.
Okay, good. That takes care of the problem.
Good.
All right. So we all agreeing that we're down to the ends now? And it's 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock. Sounds like an end.
It does.